Hello YouTube and welcome back to another before and after. Today we'll be looking at Dunkirk. I'm really excited to see this one. Now before I talk into why, I'll go over the trailer first. From what I can tell, the movie is going to be about a lot of soldiers that are stuck on a beach, and there are a lot of jets that are pretty much dropping bombs on them to kill them. Because it's cheaper somehow. So yeah, they gotta get off the island, and a bunch of guys with boats come to save the day. Also, they go inside of a big boat at one point. That's pretty much what I can gather from this trailer. I know, I've gathered a whole lot. So yeah, actually I do like this trailer. It doesn't give away too much, and hey, it did actually intrigue me onto what's actually going to be happening in this movie. Now, yeah, I don't actually know what happened in this actual event. I mean, I'm pretty sure it is actually based off of a true event. And yeah, I'm not a history buff, so yeah, I didn't really know what happened in Dunkirk, so yeah, I'm not good at history. So yeah, not really gonna know going in what's happening here, so that's a positive, I guess. That's the only positive of being without being a history buff, I guess. So yeah, I'm not gonna know what happens in this, and I'm actually pretty excited to see what does happen in it. Also, the one shot that really stood out to me in these trailers, the one where all the soldiers are turning to look at a plane. I really love that shot. I don't know why, but that shot is really what is my main driving reason to actually go see this movie. Yeah, just a shot where soldiers look at something. That is a reason to watch a movie, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah, okay, it's not a good reason at all. But yeah, I do actually want to see it based off of a shot in a trailer. So, yeah. Also, Christopher Nolan is a very good director. Definitely mostly in visual to me, though. Yeah, this is why I'm mostly excited about this. I'm not the biggest fan of Christopher Nolan. Now, yes, some of you can argue with me, but The Dark Knight is so great and Inception is great. Yeah, I know. I mean, I haven't seen The Dark Knight, but yeah, I'm sure it's great. And I've seen Inception. I know that's great. I know The Following is great. I've seen parts of Memento, and so far it's alright. And Insomnia was very slow and boring. Okay, yeah. Yeah, Insomnia is really the reason I don't have the utmost confidence in this director, because really some of his movies tend to be slow. And also his style of directing at times, and it looks like to me it will be in this movie a bit, is he tries to go for more an artistic look than more of actual great directing. I mean, don't get me wrong, he is still a great director, and his more artistic style of directing is actually very interesting to watch, and I do like how it's done. It's just that, yeah, there's some times where it gets a little bit too artsy to me. Insomnia. I really didn't like Insomnia. I'm sorry for anyone who does. I just didn't like it. So, yeah, honestly, I don't really know what to expect going into this one. If it'll be, well, another Insomnia to me, or if it'll actually be a really good one, like quite a few of the movies that I've seen from him. But yeah, there are some that really do just sort of showcase that, yeah, he does have some flaws, like in writing sometimes. Like, he doesn't really write the most believable characters at times, and yeah, there are also some where it's just kind of boring. I'm really hoping that this movie doesn't turn into one of those and instead is a really good one, which so far from the trailers, it does look like that. It's just that, yeah, I'm really not the biggest fan of Christopher Nolan, so I don't really know what to expect going into this, so guess we'll just have to wait and see. So yeah, see you guys in the after part. Alright, so I have now gone back from seeing Dunkirk, and I really enjoyed it. Now, if I'm to be honest, I was a little bit worried as to whether or not I would be bored during this movie, as it did look a bit like it could have been boring from the trailers here, but I actually really did enjoy watching this movie. Although, one thing I do want to say off the bat is I will not be having a spoiler section for this one, mostly due to, well, it's war. People do die in this. It's the sad truth of it, but yeah, people do die in war. There really is only one death that actually took me by surprise, but the rest of it, it unfortunately does happen during war, so in my opinion, yeah, if you're gonna go into a war movie, people will die. That's to be expected. So, really, there's only one death that actually did surprise me in this, which I will not actually say during this, just sort of imply who it is and what happens. But, yeah, for the most part, people do die. It's tragic, yes, but it does happen, and this movie does depict that. So, yeah, really, people will die in this, and that's just the sad truth of it. So, now that that's been said, let's get into a synopsis. So, what happens in this movie? Well, kind of what I said earlier. There are a bunch of soldiers trapped on Dunkirk, and they're being dive bombed. So, they need to get off there immediately, but that's a bit harder as, well, the military's kind of holding back actually giving them any help because, well, they're saving it for the next big battle. So they're not really being given as many ships as they need, and all the ships that they are being given keep on getting dive bombed. They don't have that many pilots to be able to help take out any of the enemy ships, and yeah, they only got little boats coming to save them that are driven by civilians. So yeah, really, it's kind of a hopeless situation, and all they can really do is just hope to get out. And that's really where the most interesting part of this movie comes in. The way that it's depicted, it is very much depicted as a hopeless situation, and I really love how that was done here. There are so many moments that are extremely suspenseful because you don't know if the enemy planes are going to be coming back at any point. Really, I just love the way that was executed. Also, if you go beyond a certain perimeter, then you get shot by a lot of enemy soldiers that are hiding out there. I really do love the way this was done. It builds a whole lot of suspense and makes it feel even more hopeless. Like you can't even go to a certain part of this place without maybe getting shot down. So there's not even you being able to go and get food or supplies or anything. You're just stuck there, and I really do love how that was treated. Also, the way that the civilians coming is such a great scene, mostly due because you spend a whole lot of this movie thinking that these characters are going to die, and a lot of them do, and it really is suspenseful to actually see these tiny little boats come in and save so many people. I really do love the way that was executed, and it is actually a very, very hopeful moment. Really, most of this movie is very depressing, but it's only until the boats actually come to Dunkirk where it actually does get extremely hopeful. I do love how that was done. Also, Christopher Nolan's directing in this movie, well, yes, I have said in my before part, yeah, he is pretty artsy in this one too, but it really does work here. Now, okay, I don't want to say that this is a bad thing as the way that he directs movies. He directs it more as a work of art instead of being, well, a film. Now, I don't find a problem with that, really, because, well, to be fair, movies are a form of art. And it is actually interesting to see a director that does care so much for respecting it as an art form more than just something that you can go and enjoy for a little bit. And I do actually really like how that was done here. It's done so uniquely too, mostly due to the color palette in this movie, which is mostly blue, green, and the color of sand. I really do love how that was executed. Sure, sometimes you'll get a character wearing a different color shirt, or you'll get fire, but that's really the only times where the color palette actually does change, and it's mostly just variations of those three different colors. And I really do love how that was done. It's so beautiful to look at, and I really do love watching it. Christopher Nolan really does have an eye for visuals here, and I really do love how it was done. So, yeah, really, I just love how he actually made this movie look. It looks spectacular. And as for the story, I really did find it interesting. It's very tragic and very depressing a lot of the times, but there are moments of hope sprinkled in. People who won't give up in saving these soldiers. That's what really makes it much more an interesting experience, and I really do love how that was done. It was handled very seriously and very well. Also, this movie actually does deserve being PG 13. Now, there are a lot of movies nowadays that really just feel like they're PG 13 because, well, the studio wanted to appeal to more of an audience instead of just the R rating crowd, so they cut some stuff back. This movie really did feel like it was actually meant to be PG 13, in my opinion. Now, sure, there are some F bombs and stuff and very serious topics, but it's handled in a way that you can understand what's going on and you know the tragedy of the situation already, so you don't have to see it all the time. And in a way, it's actually more devastating just to hear people cry for help. That's actually what makes it kind of interesting and very depressing at some points. And honestly, I really do love how that was executed with the rating that the film got. Now, I don't really talk about ratings that much, but I do actually want to talk about here mostly because, well, it was done correctly, and that's something that doesn't really happen that much nowadays. Like, there are some PG 13 movies that I feel like could either work better as PG or R, and just sort of fall in the middle because the studio wanted it to. But here it really does feel like it was meant to be PG 13 from the offset, and it works very well with that rating. So, yeah, I actually do like how this movie came off like that. So, as for the characters, this is where it gets a bit harder to talk about, mostly because I don't really know many of their names. Yeah, this is one very interesting choice that the movie had. There's barely any dialogue. Most of the dialogue in this movie actually comes from one of the small boats in the movie, which there I at least know one of the characters' names. His name George. They say his name a lot, so yeah, he was really the only character I actually got the name of. Most of the time, we just get to know these characters by their appearance, and sometimes that gets a little bit hard, as three of the characters to me, the three soldiers that we mostly follow, they look very similar, and at one point their hair gets wet, and their hair looks exactly the same, and they look exactly the same, so it was very little facial features I had to use to go off of who was who, and even at that, I don't know their names. So, yeah, this was actually kind of an interesting experience here to talk about the characters because I really barely know any of these people's names, and in a way that makes it more interesting to me. Now, I will say, I can't identify them by their roles in this movie, though, so that's how I'm going to address them. The three soldiers that we follow in this movie, they actually are very interesting. One of them is much more rash and wants to just get out of here as fast as he possibly can. And so he has these other two that are actually helping him out, and they are much more patient and want to actually be more smart about everything. And I do like how that was done. Those two soldiers are actually just very nice people who do want to help out others here. Like, there are some moments where they do put their lives on the line in order to save other people, and that's really, really likable here, and I do love these two characters. As for the other soldier, I enjoyed him, but yeah, there are some moments where I'm like, yeah, you're kind of dumb here. I mean, I do get that a lot of soldiers at this time might have gone there for different reasons, so yeah, he might have been one of them that just wanted to go there just to actually do something adventurous and stuff, as I'm pretty sure that was actually what some of the soldiers at that time wanted to do. So, yeah, it is actually interesting to see these different types of soldiers and how they actually work off of each other. And honestly, I really enjoyed these three. Two of them more than the other, but I did still enjoy the other one as well. Then we have the sailors on that very small boat, and they are very likable. George, he's probably the one that gets the he gets the least development in my opinion, but I did still very much enjoy him. The other two I actually did really like, as they do risk a lot to be able to save these soldiers, and at sometimes it really does feel like they are just doing it to help boost their self-esteem and just try and get them happy about going back home. And that's really something that I very much enjoyed here. They aren't dumb either. They know what they're doing here and they're willing to do it. I do very much like these characters and they are extremely well done here. So yeah, the three on the boat, I very much enjoyed them. Then there's that pilot that got shot down and is in shell shock. I actually very much found him interesting. The shell shock aspect was something that really I haven't seen explored in movies that much, although that's probably just due to me not watching that many war movies, but yeah, I actually did really like seeing how it was executed here, and it was very interesting to watch unfold, so I very much enjoy that character. Then there's another pilot who gets stuck in his plane for a little bit and then is saved. He was extremely likable, and I loved following this guy. He is awesome in this, and just really a likable guy. Then there's another pilot who, yeah, something bad happens to him at the very end of the movie, and honestly though, he was an extremely likable character here too. We barely ever hear this guy talk, although I do still like him. He's still a great character. He goes around helping people, even if it means that he might not be able to get out of this in a good place, but I do still very much like him. He's even more heroic for that, and I did very much enjoy this character. And then we got the two that are in charge of certain parts of the military. Yeah, I don't know the official terms for military commands. I'm sorry, guys. I just really don't. Pretty sure that one of them was played by Harry Styles, though. So that was weird. But anyway, he did a good job here, and I actually did very much enjoy these two. They're very likable characters, and I liked following them. I like seeing that one of them put his faith much more in the military, while the other just wanted to get his soldiers out of here. It was an interesting contrast, and I did like seeing how, after the ships eventually got there, one of them, even though he decided to stay with the French and be able to help them as well. I really did find that to be a much more interesting side to these characters as well. So, yeah, that's kind of it for the characters, actually. This is a pretty short before and after, mostly due to, well, there's not really much for me to say about it outside of this was a very good movie. I honestly had a great time watching this, and it's very suspenseful a lot of times. Really, there are so many scenes where I was very much in suspense, and I really did want to just see these characters that I've been following just get out okay. And yeah, it was very dramatic and very emotion. There was a whole lot of emotion in this movie, and I do like how it was executed. Although one thing that I gotta say was kind of weird, the ending. Not necessarily how it was done or anything, I do actually like the ending, it's just the final shot that we see. After we see what happens to the pilot that I mentioned before, where he doesn't really end off that good, but is still a very good character, and then we see one of the soldiers' reaction to a newspaper, and then it ends. Yeah. That was a very weird ending shot to me. Really, I don't get why Nolan decided to end it on that. Like, we could end it right here. So this is a great point to end it on, but nah, you know what I really want to end it on? I want to end it on a shot of that one soldier. I don't know why, I just really do for some reason, and there was really no point to that. We already saw the guy's reaction to the newspaper. Did we need to see him just sitting back in the chair one more time? I really don't get that ending shot, but yeah, really outside of that though, that was really my only complaint. Yeah, really, that's my only complaint about this movie. Outside of maybe there are some shots that do feel a little bit more like they're just trying to be artsy than, well, actually good shots, but or shots that actually tie into what the movie's about. But I will say I did like those shots a whole lot, and they are very great. Like I said before, Christopher Nolan does have an eye for visuals, and I gotta say, he did a great job with this movie. The color palette, the way the characters are written, I actually very much enjoyed this whole thing, and the very, very minimal use of dialogue actually made it for an even more interesting watch. So for this movie, I really enjoy it, and I highly recommend going to see it. It was a really good movie, and yeah, that's really it. It's just a great movie. Go check it out if you haven't seen it already. Also, now that I've finished up my thoughts on the movie itself, I do want to talk about the theater that I went to go see this one at, because this was actually a very different experience for me. The theater that I went to go see it in was a very old theater. And I gotta say, it kind of added to the experience of watching this movie. Well, Christopher Nolan, he does try and use a whole lot older techniques in his films. So really watching this movie in such an old theater really just adds to the experience of this one. And if you guys don't know, if you guys think I'm just saying that this theater is old because it just looked old, there were points, there was fans in the theater as the air conditioning. Also, the screen was ripped at some points. I love this theater though. It is a great little theater. I had such fun watching this movie there. Seriously, this theater was awesome. It's old and it's kind of torn down in some ways. Like, yeah, the screen is kind of ripped in some parts, and they still have fans as their air conditioning. And the exit light was even brighter than some of the movie screen, as, yeah, there were a lot of points in the movie where I could see the exit light shining on just a little corner of the screen, which was really weird, but yeah, honestly, I did love looking at this movie like that. This was a really interesting experience for me because I don't really go to that many old theaters, so this one was actually a really neat one, and I actually do want to go back to this one a few more times. I mean, it's a little bit of a drive for me, but I really did enjoy watching it at the theater that I went to go see it at. So yeah, that was just something that sort of adds to the experience to me, and really the theater was much more old, and Christopher Nolan does actually use a whole lot more older techniques than a whole lot of other directors, so I actually did find it interesting watching this movie that way. So yeah, overall, this movie was a really great one. I do highly recommend you check it out if you haven't already, and yeah, I'm just really glad I saw it. I can definitely say I do like Christopher Nolan a little bit more now, having actually seen one of his movies on the big screen. And yes, this was actually my first time watching one of his films on the big screen. So yeah, that did actually sort of add me liking Christopher Nolan a whole lot more, because yeah, I mean, I do still find some of his movies a bit boring. Insomnia, again. Insomnia was really boring, guys. I'm sorry if you like it. I just found it so boring. Although then again, I was really tired when I watched it, so that might have added on to it. But yeah, anyway, I do still very much think that I did a great job with this movie, and honestly, I really do enjoy this one. And it actually did make me a bit more of a fan of Christopher Nolan than I was before. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Bye.
Looks interesting. Oh, yeah. That's in October, though.
There's a little tear in the screen. I like it. I don't know why. It's just kind of neat. Ergo, I need to film this because this makes sense. There are fans in here.